Okay, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Paranormal Journals, only here on Black Mask Paranormal. Now, we are continuing on with my scariest encounters while investigating the paranormal here in the Appalachian Mountains. This is going to answer the question for a lot of my new subscribers. Where did my name originally come from? Black Mask, isn't that some sort of witch thing? And the answer is no. My name came from a house that I used to live in. So me and Stephanie lived in this house that was built in the late 1890s. This house was part of a historical area. Now, my house was not the only one that actually had a lot of paranormal activity. It actually wasn't even the one with the most paranormal activity. There was a house that was down the road that was an absolute beautiful mansion, and it was part of an era in East Tennessee where they would have maids, unfortunately against their will. Now, this house turned out to be so haunted for the modern inhabitants that the owners didn't live in the main house. They actually had to live in the house that was behind it. That is where the help actually was. So my house, on the other hand, was just slightly adjacent to this property. And it was built, I think, a little bit later than the original house down the street. We move in and it's this beautiful, it's got this ranch porch to it. Like, it's this really cool house in a historic area that was pretty close to the lake, that we had this access to a park. It was just such an amazing place for a young couple to live. And things were going great initially. And eventually the paranormal activity started to really kind of ramp up in the house. We didn't know exactly what it was. And even at this time, I was interested in the paranormal, but I wasn't really that interested in the paranormal. You know what I mean? I'd heard about ghost stories and, you know, kind of thought they might be true. My mom was really into the paranormal. However, being in a home like this that was haunted was a totally new experience for me. And it all started in the middle of summer in East Tennessee. It is extremely humid during the summer. The majority of the summer in spring and into fall, and then in winter it's pretty humid, pretty consistently in East Tennessee. But it also gets really hot, like upper 90s. It's not uncommon to break over 100, to get in 102. So living in a house that was built in the 1890s, it has a lot of like cracks, and it doesn't really insulate well. The house itself was actually sitting on a stack of rocks. It's kind of wild to see. At one point I had to climb under the house and it was literally sitting on rocks. So I'm sitting on my couch, it's a leather couch, in the middle of summer, and I'm just still sweating. I can't get away from this heat. It's absurdly hot inside the house. And I've got my shirt off, and the way that the house is laid out, there's a hallway in the center that kind of parallels to the living room, and at that time we had our couch sitting right there. I'm the only one home in the house at this time, and I look down the hallway and I see this black mass that looks like a figure standing at the end of my hallway. My initial thought was somebody had broken in, and it totally caught me off guard. Like, you know how you do in the scan and then you look down, just kind of look down the hallway and something catches you and you look back. Well, that's what happened. And I looked back and I'm sitting there staring at this thing, and I'm like, holy crap, somebody's in my house. So I jump up off of the couch, I sprint down the hallway, and by the time I get to the end of the hallway, the black mass is gone. And the hallway is so cold that I can actually see my breath. in July, like in the middle of summer in East Tennessee, when it's so humid outside, like you're just sweating like all the time. This absolutely made me start questioning my worldview, because I was so convinced that I was about to throw hands in my hallway that I still to this day am trying to figure out what I saw. Now, for those of you all who don't know what I'm talking about, in a lot of these paranormal hauntings, people report seeing a black mass that is just blacker than black. It doesn't seem to have any really form. There's almost no depth to it because it's so hard to see because it's so black. There's a lot of people that can get confused with like the Hat Man. Now, the Hat Man is another entity, but in these black masses, when they see these things, they will attribute it to the Hat Man. So I am totally freaked out. Like, I can't really stay in the house alone at this point. Like, I don't know what's really going on, and I'm looking for answers. So I start doing, more of the paranormal research thing and start trying to figure out exactly what this is. And this really is the kind of kickoff to the paranormal activity happening in the house. So a few weeks later, again, the way that our house is set up, there's a hallway. At the end of the hallway, on one side, there's the kids' rooms, and then on the other side is the master bedroom. So one night, I'm hearing a toy going off. So I immediately think that my son has gotten up out of bed and is in the living room playing with his toys. So I don't really think about looking in his room at first. So I just get up, I'm walking down the hallway, just kind of like, Justin, it's time to go to bed. And as I get to the end of the hallway, I hear footsteps run across the room. And then I hear the Lincoln logs that me and him were playing with earlier in the night go shooting across the floor. One actually hits me in the leg. So I turn on the light and he's not in there. Like, you want to talk about a freaking movie scene. Like, my mind at that point was just like, he's in this room. My son is in this room, and now he's hiding from me. So I'm like looking around the room, and I'm convinced that he's still in this room. I'm looking all around, I can't find him, and then eventually I'm like, okay, go look at his bed. So I walk back down the hallway, and there he is, sound asleep in his bed. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I didn't sleep for like the next week. Then more time goes by. One night, Stephanie has made dinner, and she asks me to set the table. So we put all the plates, we set the table, and I look down, and one by one, the plates on the table start spinning. And this just kind of, I'm just sitting there watching this stuff happen, and it just sends me into just an absolute rage, because I'm so mad that this is happening in my house and I cannot control it. So I take both of my fists and I just slam them down on the table really hard, and the plates stop spinning. Then some more time goes by. I know, this is insane. I cannot believe we stayed in this house as long as we did after this stuff started happening. There was another night where I was woken up. I think it might have been Stephanie got woken up first, and she kind of nudged me because she'd heard something. And so I wake up and I'm listening, and I hear like loud footsteps on our porch. Now, I love this porch. It was one of those it wasn't a ranch porch that went all the way around, but it was a large porch that covered the entire front yard, that you could sit in the shade and enjoy and watch and look across the street and watch the farm, watch the cows and the sheep. And it was just such an amazing place. So I get up, and at this point, like, I'm angry, but I'm also thinking that somebody is trying to break into the house, and just their boots on the front porch was what was causing all of the racket. So I open the porch door and I walk out, and I don't see anybody. At this time, I'm kind of like, okay, there's somebody still out here, because I'm hearing movement in the woods. So I say, you know, you are on private property. You need to announce yourself and leave immediately, because I'm armed. I didn't hear anything. And I just kept looking, and in my mind, I was thinking that somebody was hiding. And all of a sudden, I start hearing the footsteps again. And the footsteps are getting louder and louder, and they're like crunching on leaves, and I can hear the transition kind of coming out of the woods onto the grass, onto the steps, and then charging at me on the porch. I'm a big Second Amendment believer, and at that time I just fired it off, and nothing happened other than I felt this huge gust of wind that just kind of rushed by me. Again, I'm at the point where I think that I'm losing my mind, because these events are so dramatic, and I don't know how to deal with this stuff, because my entire worldview has completely changed. I am now in protect mode all the time for my family, because I don't know what this thing is. I don't like, this goes beyond any other haunting I've ever heard of, and I'm just totally panicked. It causes all kinds of chaos within the house. Stephanie is afraid to be in the house alone. Kids are afraid to be in the house. It kind of works its way up to Christmas Eve. And on Christmas Eve, Stephanie and I were all excited. We are wrapping presents for the kids. And we start hearing this scratching sound. And it is like the worst sound that you can imagine. It sounds like claws going down a freaking piece of wood. We're trying to figure out where it's coming from. Eventually I locate it onto the wall, on the wall where it is, and it's just getting louder and louder, and I put my ear up to the wall, and I just hear just these claws, and it just, that was it. That was the breaking point. After that, we were ass and elbows out of there, and we moved to the current house that I'm in now. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Paranormal Journals. This is my personal encounters that I've experienced while living and researching the phenomenon of the paranormal in the Appalachian Mountains. So if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Definitely give this video a like. And please go over to my other channel, The Black Mass Adventure, where I am setting up a second channel. I'm kind of worried that my main channel might get taken down or something. So I'm trying to create an avenue where I can also promote products that I like, and for you all to be able to have a second way to get a hold of me, and I can get a hold of you. So until next time.